What was the number one reason the Lions lost this game?
What do you think I'm going to say?
I don't know. There was some questionable calls. I know you like to blame the officials.
230 yards against, 15 yards
Yeah, that's
for.
unbelievable.
How is that? Like, how is that? That's so off-brand. I had to go back and check the box score like 17 times to see if it really was 230 to 15, because that couldn't be the case. But this has really been Detroit the whole season, right? They win a game, they lose a game, they win a game, they lose a game. This is the first time they actually lost 2 games in a row since what, 23?
2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years. So, and as much as we think that losing 2 coordinators, you can overcome that because Philly did such a good job with it last year, it's been a real problem for Detroit. And they had to make the move, or he felt like he had to make the move with the offense coordinator, Johnny Morton, in the middle of the season. That, I'm sure, took a lot of his attention away from coaching the whole team. So it's just been the inconsistency of Detroit, and then culminating in yesterday of absolutely not Detroit Lions football in the most fundamental way possible. They should have lost. They deserve to lose.
Well, and there was an OPI before the one we just showed from the 1-yard line. You can't, to Coach's point, you can't be the bite the kneecaps team if we're against go back to the Chiefs game when they were at the 1-yard line and they threw a pass to Jared Goff and they had the illegal formation. Remember? Guys, you have a timeout. It's 1st and goal. A touchdown wins you the game. Punch it in.
Yeah.
That's again. I'm not Mr. Old School run the ball, but football. But that's what your ethos has been. It's your identity. It's your identity. And then on the golf play, the next OPI play. I don't know whether or not this is or isn't offensive pass interference. I do know this. His forward progress is stopped, and that's not a touchdown in any universal football ever.
Either.
I know the refs were like, we called it a touchdown. That's nonsense. Like, if this had been
back 5 yards.
He just pushed back 5 yards.
Right.
Everyone stops. I mean, credit to Goff for continuing to play.
Yeah, they both got him locked
But
up.
I mean, 97 knows if I hit him, I'm going to get a penalty.
Yep.
And so the idea that they got screwed here, it was 4th and goal.
And it was offensive PI, I think. I mean, he shoved him.
He runs up and
Yep.
jams
Yeah,
him.
and so they just haven't been, they have not been good enough all year long. They have been a team that has all this talent on offense, but has not been able to overcome the fact that for the 2nd straight year they're banged up on defense and they can't get stops when they need it. That's just Dan Campbell was right 2 years ago when he said this was our chance. When they are up 15 or 17 in the conference championship game and was like, we might never get back here. I think he was right.
I agree, and obviously that's just a true statement. I don't know, especially now, should he have said that publicly at least? You say it to your team. I'm sure you got ways of motivating your team. But now that has almost become like a mantra about this team. Like, everybody's asking, is the window closed? Is the window closed? And they go back to that statement. I think he was totally right. But I just wonder now, is that in the players' minds?
Please, let's be serious. That notion isn't even a consideration for the players. It was a motivational tactic, nothing more. To now cast doubt on Dan Campbell's capacity to inspire his team and speak honestly about their circumstances is utterly misguided. Absolutely not. I understand some are trying to misconstrue that message, but the players did not believe their championship opportunity had vanished last season. They simply did not. All right? They were prepared to compete. They did not enter this year feeling that window was shut. Of course, the ultimate goal wasn't achieved. Clearly, they are not Super Bowl champions, nor does it appear they will be. However, I fundamentally and completely reject that assertion about their mindset. The defensive unit has been an enormous issue this season. That much is obvious. Offensively, I acknowledge this wasn't their flawless performance, and I attribute part of that to Dan Campbell still acclimating to his responsibilities from a play-calling standpoint. What he has managed thus far has been notable. Yet, The truth is, and this is a point I consistently made even with their initial play caller, the original offensive coordinator, before Campbell assumed those duties, that calling plays against an elite defense or a top-tier defensive coordinator is fundamentally distinct. It becomes a high-level chess match. The exceptional play callers are celebrated for a reason. They possess a profound depth of experience that allows them to navigate these battles autonomously. My observation is that the Lions, on both sides of the ball, have not fully demonstrated that capability. They certainly possessed it in the prior 2 seasons when they benefited from elite coaches on offense and defense directing that strategic duel. The devastating impact of defensive injuries, of course, remains a persistent factor. Furthermore, I am uncertain if the instability along the offensive line, with the team relying on third-string centers and the like, led to a premature abandonment of the running game. To be perfectly honest, I don't have a definitive opinion on that. Jared Goff delivered a strong statistical performance with 364 yards and 3 touchdowns, though much of that production came during the latter stages. Consider the start, a 3-and-out punt on the opening drive. The second possession was a 13-play, 63-yard march consuming 7 minutes, only to end with a turnover on downs. In the second quarter, they settled for a field goal, a sensible decision finally, then punted. It seemed things might be stabilizing. However, on the defensive side, the metrics were alarming, allowing conversions on 8 of 16 third-down attempts, yielding both fourth-down attempts, surrendering 481 total yards at a rate of nearly 7 yards per play, including 230 yards on the ground. While the defense managed some red zone stops, the offense failed to capitalize in their own red zone opportunities. The entire operation felt disjointed. In many respects, the Lions had no rational business remaining competitive in this contest, let alone having a chance to win. That is the astounding part. They forced a fumble on Darnell Washington, only to surrender an improbable play on a touchdown pass to Gainwell. It was, simply put, a chaotic mess. Yet, I must emphasize, the Lions fought with tremendous heart. I am in no way criticizing their intensity or effort. In my post-game analysis following the Steelers game, I made a point to commend the Lions for their sheer determination and fight. Contrast their effort with, for example, what the Ravens did to the Patriots. The difference was stark. Consequently, this loss is particularly difficult because I genuinely believe this team possesses more talent than their current results indicate. Entering the season, I stated that due to the coordinator changes, I believed the Lions would take a step back. That was my precise phrasing. I predicted a regression, not a catastrophic collapse. I did not foresee them missing the playoffs entirely. So, in that regard, I was partially correct. I am aware of the injury woes and the various challenges, but they are consistently failing to execute in the most critical moments. Reflect on that loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Consider how poorly that defeat has aged. It looks worse with each passing week. Even the victory against the Baltimore Ravens, initially hailed as a monumental win, appears less impressive given the Ravens' season-long struggles. Examining the schedule, a loss to Green Bay, a win over Chicago, who were a completely different, inferior team early in the year, a win over Baltimore, a win over Cleveland, a win over Cincinnati, a loss to Kansas City, which, in hindsight, looks even more damaging, a win against a Tampa Bay team that is unraveling, a victory I certainly appreciated, and a win against Atlanta, who are not a playoff-caliber team. Presently, you beat Chicago, now improved, but not then, Baltimore, non-playoff team, Cleveland, non-playoff team, Cincinnati, non-playoff team, lost to Kansas City, non-playoff team, beat Atlanta, non-playoff team, lost to Minnesota, another loss that has aged terribly, against a non-playoff team, beat Washington, non-playoff team, had a strange 16-9 game against Philadelphia. And after witnessing what Chicago's run game did to Philadelphia, one must ask why the Lions couldn't establish their ground attack that day. Then, an absurd overtime win against the New York Giants, a game they easily could have, and perhaps should have, lost against another non-playoff team. A loss to Green Bay, a win over Dallas, non-playoff team, and losses to Los Angeles and Pittsburgh. The pattern reveals a lack of truly high-quality victories against elite opponents. The closest approximation is Chicago, but the Bears were not playing at their current level at the season's outset. They simply were not. This directs the analysis squarely toward coaching and the critical details. It's acceptable for coaching staffs to appear less brilliant or more effective when facing opponents without a significant defensive or strategic advantage. However, consistently securing victories against the league's best requires superior coaching. It plays an immense role. One of the most pervasive misconceptions we accept or tell ourselves is that when Kansas City defeats San Francisco or Buffalo, the sole difference is Patrick Mahomes over Josh Allen or Brock Purdy. That's reductive. Those contests involve intense coaching warfare, absolute strategic battles. Currently, the Lions are losing that war on both offense and defense. This is not to claim their coaching is garbage or terrible. This is not an argument that Dan Campbell is a bad coach. Not at all. The point is, they previously held a strategic edge, a considerable one, and that edge has diminished. Observe the teams that lost significant coaching staff: Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta. Things look unsettled. Conversely, teams that gained strong coaching, like Seattle, Jacksonville, and Chicago, are demonstrating higher quality play. This factor is more substantial than many acknowledge, and certainly more than some Lions fans wish to recognize, as it was a point of contention I raised during the offseason. I expressed specific concerns about the team's coordination, and the fact Dan Campbell felt compelled to assume play-calling duties validates those concerns. I held identical reservations about the Philadelphia Eagles' offensive play-calling, which also proved correct. It's a challenging reality. The Lions are a storied franchise with a phenomenal fan base. The playoffs are enhanced by their presence. They were positioned to dominate the NFL landscape, but have been unable to sustain that momentum or overcome injuries. Undeniably, the single greatest advantage the Kansas City Chiefs have enjoyed throughout their dynasty is remarkable coaching continuity, avoiding constant disruption. This is the hurdle Philadelphia has faced and what Detroit is currently confronting. It is profoundly difficult. I assure you, the Chiefs do not reach every AFC Championship game and Super Bowl if Andy Reid were not a masterful coach, constantly replacing coordinators poached for head coaching jobs. Imagine if Steve Spagnuolo departed and the defense regressed. Consider San Francisco's defensive fluctuations after losing coordinators, only to stabilize upon Robert Saleh's return. That is the stabilizing power of exceptional, consistent coaching. How is the Miami Dolphins defense performing since Vic Fangio's departure? Many blamed Fangio for issues, yet he arrives in Philadelphia and instantly transforms their defense. Examine Trevor Lawrence's performance with and without Liam Cohen. Observe Baker Mayfield with and without Cohen. How is Jim Harbaugh's defense performing without Jesse Minter? The answer is suboptimal. This is the coaching carousel that consistently successful teams like the Lions face when they lose top assistants. It mirrors Philadelphia's experience over recent seasons. Thus, it is unsurprising that the franchise with the most stable coaching structure on both sides of the ball, the Kansas City Chiefs, has also been the NFL's most consistent team for nearly a decade. This does not signify the end. The window is not necessarily closed. However, it unequivocally means adjustments are imperative. The organization must also scrutinize the injury plague. Is it merely misfortune? Or are changes needed in preparation, strength and conditioning, or practice regimens? I am an individual who examines every variable. I explore all possibilities, even against odds. Watching a game with 8 seconds left and a 12-point deficit, I'm still considering the onside kick, Hail Mary scenario. I seek every option and opportunity. This exhaustive approach is what the Detroit Lions must adopt, because I believe the core talent and spirit of this roster, and of Dan Campbell as a leader, remain intact. Yet, certain aspects require refinement and evolution. Philadelphia needed to evolve, smooth rough edges, and implement changes to surmount their hurdle. Even after reaching the Super Bowl in 2022, they required concrete adjustments in 2024 to ultimately win it. If they fall short this year, further changes will follow. The NFL mandates adaptation. You either keep pace or are left behind. In many ways, the Lions have attempted to run it back philosophically and in terms of identity. That is insufficient. Evolution is non-negotiable. The mentality cannot be, we are the aggressive fourth down team. Full stop. Without evolution, trouble ensues. Presently, the team is in trouble. We can attribute it to health, claiming outcomes would differ with fewer injuries. While likely true, there are methods to overcome adversity, and I do not believe the Lions have excelled in that regard. Frankly, with an offense featuring Goff, Gibbs, Williams, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and capable weapons, I expect them to devise schemes that create advantageous situations in pivotal moments, not solely against inferior teams or when operating perfectly. Against contenders like Kansas City or Philadelphia, I expect the offense to maneuver creatively to compensate for offensive line or defensive shortcomings. That was problematic against Philadelphia and Kansas City. While the final score against the Chiefs was 31-17, offensive struggles directly contributed to the opponent's momentum. Those are my perspectives. I am eager to hear yours. What are your thoughts on the Detroit Lions falling short against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Where do you believe they go from here? Please share your insights in the comments section below. I read every single comment, whether you concur or disagree. Let's engage in discussion, even debate, but ultimately, let's enjoy the dialogue. Please consider subscribing. We are cultivating an incredible community here and would be thrilled to have you participate. My goal is to build something that fosters genuine connection and shared excitement. I believe we are making significant progress. Also, please remember to like this video. It substantially assists with visibility and the platform's algorithm. Thank you sincerely.